Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with Ariel Stafford on Behind Closed Doors. We have a lot of fun stuff to dive into today. I'm really excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here.
So we have a second lieutenant. Ariel is a second lieutenant in the Army National Guard, and she is also a competitor in the Miss America pageants. So we have a lot to dive into today, and I have some questions for her. But I want to start out, tell us about your journey with pageants, how you got into them, and what you've been doing since then, and where you are now.
Yeah, so I started out in an organization called 4-H. Do you know what 4-H is?
No.
So the best way to describe it, it's like an organization with pretty much a club for any topic you could possibly imagine. They're usually run by a county or an associated state university. So when I lived back in Jersey, Rutgers University ran our 4-H cooperative, and a big part of 4-H is the agricultural program. There's a lot of overlap with FFA, Future Farmers of America, which is run through schools. Basically, it's just agriculture education. It gets kids involved in agriculture who either didn't start on farms or just want to get more into it. And so I got involved in the dairy club, so I got to show dairy cows. I did that all growing up. And there was an ambassador program within there called the Dairy Princess program. So I was my county's Dairy Princess, and then I was the New Jersey State Dairy Princess back in 2017, 2018, I think it was. And through that, I had the opportunity to go around to schools, to different farm events, agriculture events, and just promote dairy products, explain to young kids and adults alike why dairy products, why consuming dairy is good for them, why it's healthy, the good that farmers do in our environment and in our society. And it was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
Do you know what this is reminding me of, though? Isn't Cornell known for dairy?
Yeah.
So when you went to Cornell, did you do anything with that?
I personally didn't. So my sister, I got into 4-H because of my sister, and she joined the dairy club when she was 10 years old because she wanted a dog. My parents said no dog, so she went to the 4-H fair and thought cows looked cute. So
the cow blanket behind
lots
us.
Of cows. And so she got into it, and I followed soon after her. And she ended up going to Cornell for dairy science, and she's graduating with a PhD in dairy science next year.
So that's where it comes from.
Yeah. So it runs in the family.
It runs in the family.
But
cows run in the
yes,
family.
They do. But so I got involved in the advocacy through that. When I passed off that title, I caught the bug. I really wanted to keep doing that. And I had a friend of a friend that went to Rutgers. And I did my freshman year at Rutgers.
Oh, so you were transferred to Cornell.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So,
were you in ROTC when you went to? Okay.
Yeah. But I wasn't on scholarship yet, so it wasn't like an issue to transfer. But there's someone else that went to Rutgers, and I cold messaged her on Instagram. I was like, hey, I see you're involved in the Miss America pageants. Like, can you tell me more? And she was super nice. She was like, yeah, of course. Shout out to Kira, if you see this.
Hopefully she does.
Yeah. She was like, yeah, of course, I'd love to. And so we got pizza. She told me all about the Miss America organization. And then I got involved. The first ever pageant that I competed in was a local that she ended up winning. And then that same pageant, when I competed again the next year, was the first local that I won. So I competed in that one. I competed in 4 others, and then I came back and competed in that one again, and that was the first one I won. So it was a really fun, full circle moment to have her be the one to crown me. It was really fun.
It reminds me of when you commission and then you have the person give you the coin.
Yeah.
And it's full circle moment.
Yeah. It was fun. I was really happy. So that was back when I was competing in New Jersey. That was Miss Central Jersey. I actually held that title for 2 years because it was during COVID. So they canceled the state competition for a year. So we held over. I competed at Miss New Jersey with that title. I was the only one in the military competing at Miss New Jersey, which was a super fun kind of dichotomy to bring to the stage. Competed again the following year as Miss Ocean View, so representing the sandy beaches of Jersey.
Cool.
And then I moved to New York full time when I graduated college, and now I compete in New York. And so now I'm Miss Hudson Valley. Even though I don't live anywhere near the Hudson Valley.
But her boyfriend does.
Yes, he does. I represent his
Hudson
family.
Valley.
Yes. I represent his family. But
I love that.
I went to the state capitol recently, and I met with a bunch of people, and I got recognized, and everyone kept asking me where in the Hudson Valley I was from. And finally we just started saying that I was in his town, and I was like, yeah. I have family in there. Yeah, I count.
I have family. Future family.
I do have family in Scarsdale, but yeah, future
family. Right near me.
I love you, Jack. But yeah, but my local organization represents pretty much the greater New York State area, representing that New York is more than just the city, which is a fun thing to represent. But the Hudson Valley is also huge, so I get to kind of represent that whole area. And I've gotten to do a couple things out there, but I'm competing at Miss New York in July.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Hopefully it'll go well.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. Okay, so I love that all about the pageants. Tell me about your Army career. Give people, and I want it like, so people that are listening to this that have no idea kind of what ROTC is or what path you went down, kind of give them the little bit of like the spiel where you started and I'll
start
your
from
journey.
the beginning.
Yeah, start from the beginning.
So I joined the Army loosely on an impulse decision.
Me too, though. So
everybody.
I feel you. I think everybody does.
I was in high school and I was involved in marching band in high school. And my marching band we competed at a high level. They were very like disciplined and.
What do you not do?
I don't know.
Anyways,
anymore.
Continue. Go.
We competed at a high level. We had like the uniforms, the discipline, everything, and it kept me in line. I always did way better in school when I was in season than out of season.
The structure was helping.
Yeah, it was so helpful. And I knew that if I didn't have it in college, I was going to fail out in 2 weeks. And college marching band, while it seemed fun, isn't the same thing. It's more of a social thing.
She just got really good at drill and ceremony
Yeah,
during labs.
really good.
It all paid off.
Marching came naturally to me.
She was in the color guard after that.
I was.
Oh yeah, exactly. See,
It
all ties back.
And we used to have the recruiters used to come to our school because we were a really, really big regional school district. So the recruiters would come to our school and like speak during the lunch periods and whatnot. And someone pissed me off one day, and I was like, "I'm gonna do it."
Oh,
I mean,
it was really impulsive.
It really was impulsive. I was like 1 week out of a surgery when I went and talked to the recruiter. And, like, you couldn't tell because I was walking, but I had knee surgery, and I was just in a brace, but you couldn't really tell. And I went to go talk to the recruiter. Obviously it wasn't like a service bearing injury, but but I knew that like my college was a require. Like I knew I wanted to go to college. I didn't want to take any time off before I went. And so the recruiter told me about ROTC. I didn't tell my parents about it though at first.
Me neither.
I mean, I had a car. My parents didn't really care what I did after school. They were like, as long as you're like being safe and get home by dinner.
You get home, exactly.
Yeah, they kind of just let me do my thing. And so a couple times I went to the recruiter. I took like a practice ASVAB. Just got to know. Yeah.
I took that recently.
Just got to know about the Army. They told me all about ROTC and how all that worked. Got me in touch with Rutgers and Cornell's programs so I could kind of get a hang of it. And there's actually one time that I went to go take a practice ASVAB and I had to be back at the school for something that evening that my mom was like meeting me there for, and she beat me to the school. And she was like, "Where is Ariel?" And my best friend covered for me, and he was like, "Oh, she went to Somerville," which is like the next town over, to get lunch or to get dinner for herself. And that's where the recruiter was. And so he texted me. He's like, "Your mom's here. Make sure you bring dinner on your way back." He's like, "I told you you were getting food, so make sure you come back with food." So really appreciative of that. But then I had like all the notes. I knew they'd be supportive, but I also knew that my parents would have a ton of questions. And so I was like, I wanted to have the answers to their questions. So I had everything written out and everything planned out.
Look at you prepared.
I was prepared.
That's
this
really
was a serious
good.
decision. So I like made the impulsive decision and then put all the work into deciding. And my mom found a folder that had all my notes in it. She's like, "Oh, what's this from?"
So she found it for you.
Yeah, she found it. And she was like, "What's this from?" And I was like, "Oh, it's an assembly." And I took notes. And she's like, "You haven't gone to a single assembly since you've been in high school. And you wouldn't take notes if you did go to them." I always found a reason to get out of them. I was a good student.
The way you were that nervous to like confront her with this, like, "I'm joining the Army."
I love my parents. They're so supportive and wonderful. But I knew they'd be a little terrified about it.
That was exactly what my parents were like. Yep.
And of course, my mom like low-key freaked out a little bit, but then was super supportive. Every single question she asked, I had an answer for. I was like, "Here's all the information." And then, but I didn't tell anyone. I think the best decision I made was, aside from my best friend, who covered for me, I didn't tell anyone that I was joining. So I graduated, I think like on my high school graduation post, I was like.
So you knew in high school you were going.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I like on my high school graduation post, I like made something that was like, "I'm excited to join the Army." But it was nice because then I didn't have to care about anyone like in high school, anyone's comments or questions. And the couple people that I have stayed in touch with like have been supportive and followed along. But
did you did you go in with a scholarship?
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
No. The ironically enough, the scholarship that, because I decided so late, the only scholarship I was eligible to apply for would have been the Minuteman Scholarship, which locks you into the Guard. And at that time I went to go active duty. So I was like, I'm going to try to fight for an active duty scholarship freshman year. Ironic though, because I'm in the Guard now. But no, I didn't go in with the scholarship, which actually made transferring easy. So I went into Rutgers University, started in their ROTC program. They have a great program, had a lot of fun there. Then transferred to Cornell, transferred into their program. Also an awesome program. Like had
Excelsior
a blast
Battalion.
There.
Woo, go Excelsior.
Indeed. And but yeah, so and then my sophomore year I applied for a scholarship and got awarded the Guaranteed Guard Scholarship. And then accepted it and couldn't turn down 2.5 years of Cornell tuition.
And then can you tell us a little bit about after like you commissioning, you getting your branch? Give us that.
For the Guard, it's a little bit different than active. We don't like sit there and anxiously open an envelope.
Wait, I'm glad you're telling me this, because this is going to be me in like a few months.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been told they changed the process a little bit, where you like kind of have to apply for your branch. When I went through it, you just reached out to the like they're called the Officer Strength Manager. So I reached out to the OSM for the New York Guard and was like, hey, I want to join the armor branch. What units do you have available? And she was like, we have this one that's near you. And I was like, great. And I put in my application for them. They look it over. They like consider everything from your ROTC career. And it's like the ROTC sends all your information, and my former unit, the unit that I was in while I was a cadet, sent all my information over. And the unit's like, sure, we'll take her. So I already knew my branch and my unit by the time all the active duty cadets got their branches.
What month did you find out?
I got mine. So I found out the unit in like October.
What, the beginning of your senior year?
Yeah. But also,
wow.
But then it took me a while for them to actually like sign my papers. That was a whole nother thing. I was looking into both New Jersey and New York because I wasn't sure if I was going to move back home or not. And New Jersey actually just like signed me to a unit.
Oh.
And then so New York couldn't then sign me because they were like, you're already signed. And so I had to call New Jersey and get them to, because it was a whole thing.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're going to go after two states, make sure you very clearly tell them that you're not trying to sign to a unit yet. You're just asking questions.
Okay.
Because New Jersey did not get that.
No, I'll probably be living in New York the rest of my life. So yeah, tell us about Bullock.
After I graduated, I went to basic officer leadership course, or BOLIC, which is basically like job training for whatever your job is in the military. Mine was armor BOLIC. And so I got to go learn everything about being a tanker, and mainly it was focused on commanding tanks and leading tank formations, but we also got to drive them and shoot them and do all the cool fun stuff.
How long were you there for?
It was 19 weeks, so like 4.5 months.
How long did it feel? Like, did you like it?
Yeah, so it was fun. I liked the structure. I liked having a 9 to 5. I work in the hospitality industry now, so I don't have a 9 to 5, and I miss it.
That's funny because sometimes I hate the structure.
Yeah.
Like I do and I don't.
Yeah, it was nice. As a guardsman who doesn't get a day to day, it was nice to have. I think that for someone who's active duty, going into the schoolhouse would be annoying because now it's like so much more structured than normal. I like the structure. I mean, being away from home sucked. Like being away from Jack sucked. But the course was really cool. It felt like I was there for about 6 months because I went for my 4.5 and then came home and went back for another school that was another month. So I kind of like in my mind I lumped that all together as one. But it was really fun. I learned a ton. I mean, I'm probably never gonna get to shoot a tank again for a while, so it was cool to get to do. And I'm
life of a National Guard armor officer.
New York doesn't have tanks, so or doesn't have a lot. But it was fun. I learned a ton. It was very challenging. Like it challenged me, but it also gave me the opportunity to like figure out where I shine and like what my strengths are.
Yeah. Why tanks?
So the running joke is that as armor officers, we get to wear fun hats, Stetsons. And 95% of the reason everyone joins armor is to wear the hat. No, I'm kidding. So when I was a cadet, I was in an infantry unit, and my commander at the time, Captain K, he was an armor officer, because once you hit captain or above armor and infantry, you can be an officer in either one. It's just maneuver. So he was an armor officer, and so I was looking to go intelligence, and he was like, "What if you considered reconnaissance? It's the same thing, but in the field, so it's cooler." And I was like,
so someone kind of persuaded you.
Keep talking. Yeah, he did.
Oh, I love that.
But it was like,
that's what helps though. Yeah. Like when you have an officer,
oh, yeah.
Cause it's not easy. Like we go to West Point and we look at these different branches and they just have the coolest stuff that they possibly have sitting on their thing. And they're trying to tell you what their day-to-day life is. And if nothing sparks an interest, like it's hard. It's really tough. But I feel like if you have that person that's like guiding you, being like, this is what it actually is like I'm doing this right now. And it's not like, it's in a personal setting, then you're kind of like, okay. And then you could ask those questions and it's like, tell me more. And then that's awesome.
Yeah. And he was supportive. So he got me to go. And he got me in touch with people that like officers in military intelligence and in armor, so I could see both sides to it. And so that it was really helpful. He wasn't just biasly trying to push me to one. He was giving me the whole picture. The whole picture.
Yeah. That was like when I was deciding between the guard and the reserves, like our one of our cadre like actually like sat down with me and was like, listen, I'm reserves, but he's guard. And I kind of went back and forth. I talked to multiple sergeants, talked to multiple officers, and then you kind of just like get a good grasp. And it's nice because like you can see the difference, and they're not trying to just persuade you one way. They're like, this is the difference. Mm-hmm. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, it was good.
You got to get like that open-minded person to kind of just give you the perspective.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm really happy. I mean, like the meat and potatoes reason I went armor was I just thought it was a really cool way. It's a combat arms branch. You get to do a lot of cool things. That's more than just like rucking and running. Like there's a lot. It's like a really cool combination of being in the field and doing the grunt stuff, and then also doing stuff that takes a lot of in-depth thought and consideration.
Did you always know you want to go combat arms?
No, I originally wanted to go active duty military intelligence.
Yeah, you want to be MI.
So I mean,
was that like, so was it kind of weird to like think of it like the fact you went combat arms?
Yeah,
did you ever see that for yourself? Like, I don't see that for myself.
No.
Like, people see that for me sometimes, and I'm like, stop. No.
It definitely, and I definitely, like, even still, I'm like, I'm a combat arms officer.
Yeah, right.
But it's cool. I get to do cool things. And I mean, in the end of it, everyone in the Army has a really important job. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, it's so true.
And when I first branched armor, my plan was to, when I hit captain, switch back over to MI, and I don't think I'm actually going to do that. Yeah. I'm pretty sold on armor now.
See, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I'm in that weird spot. I didn't even tell you guys in the beginning of the podcast, but I'm in ROTC. We're both, me and Ariel, we're both in the same battalion. So she's actually a ma'am, and I should be calling her ma'am right now.
No, please don't.
No, but yeah, so I'm a cadet, and we met, I think I joined when I was a sophomore. I'm a senior right now, graduating, but I didn't go to basic camp, so.
You started as an MS1 still?
Yes, yes, exactly. So I'm doing still a full 4 years. But, yeah, and you were, I think, a senior when I was a sophomore?
No,
when did you graduate Cornell?
Yes, you're MS1 year. Yes, you're a sophomore.
So she was kind of leaving. I think I was with you for a year, and then you left.
Yeah, a year overlap.
Which is so weird because I feel like we would never believe that we're sitting in this spot right now talking. Like, it's so funny. But yeah, and then her boyfriend is in my military class, so he's in MS3 with me. We're about to be MS4s though, but we gotta wait for camp. Yeah, we gotta wait for camp. Can't say that
Almost
yet.
There, so close.
Almost there. We're choosing our branches right now, so it's interesting to hear the different perspectives. I love it. The combat arms. I don't know if I'll be sold on that though.
Definitely don't be afraid to just cold email people. Yeah. Like especially
I'm about to cold email someone about being a mental health specialist in the Army. So
they'll answer. And like the only reason they won't answer is if they don't see it. I mean, people are willing to help out. I mean, like especially junior officers are just, no matter what, they're willing to answer questions. It doesn't cost them anything. Doesn't take much time.
Okay, for the big question.
Yes.
Challenges of being a woman in the military. Very men-centered workforce.
So I've been blessed that I haven't, like, I know there are plenty of women who have had challenges in the military because they're a woman. I'm blessed that I haven't faced any discrimination or like belittlement for being a woman in the military, which is nice. I've been surrounded by great guys, like great units.
That's awesome.
I think that one of the challenges is more of just a, like, I guess, historical thing, is that originally women weren't always in, especially combat arms, women weren't always in combat arms. So there's not a ton of higher ranking females in combat arms. So just like finding mentors isn't, that you can really relate to. They're not super accessible. Not a lot of them exist. It's purely a numbers game.
It's so true.
Which again, I've been blessed with some really good mentors. They're good mentors.
But it's always nice to get a female. Yeah. Because it's like, okay, we could, like, it's a different type of like relatable feeling. You're like, okay, like you get your period in the field too. Like, okay, so what are we doing?
And it's things like that, where it's just things that have nothing to do with being in the military. Yeah. Someone that I can ask, something that I've been wondering about is being the plans to be a future dual military couple. How does that work if one's in the Guard and one's in active? And like, how do you do maternity leave in the Army? Like, that's not necessarily something that a male officer can answer.
I've already searched up the maternity OCPs and I'm ready. They're cute. They're so cute. So don't you worry.
I actually remember
wait, does he get good question. Does he get paternity leave?
I still don't have. Okay, yes. They're paternity leave.
So you'd be on paternity leave and maternity leave at the same time. Yeah. I love that.
The Army actually is a really good,
so inclusive
maternity
I love
leave
that.
leaves.
Good.
Something that was funny though was, and not something I have to personally worry about, but my commander, his wife's also like they're both in the military, and something that he knew just because of her was, so I don't have a huge chest. I don't have to worry about curves in my uniform. But for a lot of women, when you put on your dress uniform jackets, if you put the pins on, like while it's sitting flat on the ground, and then you put it on, they're not straight anymore. And it's just something like a male probably wouldn't think of.
You know what? I love how you bring that up because that happens to me. But my bigger issue is not the ribbons, it's my chest. I keep working out chest, and now every time I put the blazer on, I'm like, guys, I can't move. And I'm like, I can't eat my food. I can't do this. And they're like, well, we have no other sizes, Marriott. I'm like, okay.
I don't have that problem.
I'm like, whatever.
I'm pretty flat. But it's something, it's just something that.
No, it's just funny because men don't really go through that. Yeah, it's just like little tiny things.
But yeah, again, and I don't want to belittle experiences that other women have had that haven't been positive. I've been very grateful to have positive experiences. I think one of the biggest things though, as a woman in the military, that I hopefully I try to exude and try to talk about and represent, is that I don't want to be seen as a great female officer. I want to be seen as a great officer. I strive to be a great officer.
Exactly.
And
you don't want to be good for a girl.
Yeah.
Good for a woman. You want to be good for an officer.
Yeah.
You want to be a good officer. I know exactly what you're saying.
And it's there are definitely qualities that I have that come from being a woman. When I went through advanced camp, my squad always called me mom. Because I took care of people. That was just instinctive for me.
We have that motherly nature to us women, yeah.
And it's are there qualities that I don't have because I'm not a guy? Yeah, sure. But that's why I have male counterparts that I can learn from, and I can hopefully pick up their
male
qualities.
Battle buddies, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then hopefully I have qualities that my male counterpart wouldn't naturally have, that they will pick up, and will just make all of us better officers. And I think that's something that I've been trying to focus on. And especially I get that question in pageants a ton, is what does it mean to you to be a great female officer? It's well, I don't want to be a great, I just want to be a great officer.
A great officer. That's such a good way of saying it. Yeah. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I love that. How do you feel about any gender specific regulations in the Army?
So the big hot topic, the really only gender specific regulation I think is with the fitness test. And while there's a lot of other criteria that soldiers get ranked upon that have nothing to do with gender, and everyone's on an even playing field, the fitness test does affect pretty much every single ranking you'll ever have in the military. Your ranking in any school, your ability to pass any school, on a basic level. Obviously, when you get to some of the higher level stuff, it's not so. I don't know. As a female, I know that I can't score. I don't think I can pass the male standards.
To get max on deadlift, for example, I think it's depending on your age, let's say 210. But max for a guy is 300 something.
It's max is 340 for the guys, and
340 to get 100 points.
To get 100.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So for me, I'm 21 years old. I'm pretty sure my max deadlift to get 100 points is I just have to do 230 pounds or 210, and I get 100 points for that.
Yeah. So
yeah. So how do you feel about that? When they came out with that?
I think that I would be able to again I can't complain about something that benefits me, but as a concept, I think it'd be easier, or I'd be able to earn more respect from people if they didn't have that. Right when I was my junior year, so a little before I branched, they very briefly put out a version of the fitness test that was by branch. And so you had to achieve a certain standard to go combat arms. Ironically enough, those standards are pretty similar to the female 70 to 80 point standard. So they weren't ridiculously high. But still, I think that would have at least evened the playing field a little bit more. And I wouldn't get comments from people being okay, well, you can
you're a girl,
brief and out more, but you can't. You have an easier time passing your test. And I do. I have an easier standard on my test. I'm not going to deny that.
But I also I think what goes into that is men biologically they can achieve more in a smaller amount of time with in terms of for example, they start benching, right? They're going to keep going up and up, and then we start benching, it takes us 2 years to get up 20, 30 pounds, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost for me, I get it. I get why women, their standards are different, and obviously you said we benefit from it, so we can't really complain about it, but it does definitely, I think, change the respect aspect. Guys don't, they're
and I think biologically, I get it. It makes sense.
It makes sense, yeah.
But when you're a soldier, you have to be able to do the same job. So if you want to say it's different standards, then set it all to the female standard. Say, this is the minimum of what we think humans can achieve, and then this is the maximum of what we think humans can achieve. Yeah, more females will fall lower, more males will fall on the higher end.
That's a good point.
And that's why I think, and we were talking about this earlier with like some of those more advanced schools. You have Ranger School, you have SF School. Like a woman with a Ranger tab went through the same exact thing. Well, I've never been to Ranger School, so I assume they went through the same exact thing that a male with a Ranger tab would have. So
they probably just needed to work 10 times harder to get to the physical.
Yeah, and maybe they did. But in the same way that, like, when you see someone with a Ranger tab, you don't ask them what their PT score is. And you may have someone who really struggles on a PT test, but they worked really hard and they got there.
Yeah.
And then you have someone who PT comes really easy to them. Maybe they had to work harder on the op-board briefs. I think that, like, it'd be nice if it was an even playing ground. And, yeah, it'd be harder for me to pass the test if it was. So, yeah, like, we can't complain something that benefits us, but
I get
as
it
a concept, yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I do always have something to say about is the tape tests. God, they were designed for men. Like, the old tape tests, the 3-site tape test. So basically, for those of you who do not know what that is, you have to, if you don't pass height and weight, which for me, I never passed height and weight. But yeah, so, if you don't pass height and weight, you have to get taped. And that's basically to measure the body fat percentage. And it's so bizarre. Like, they measure your neck from the widest point of your neck. Men have an Adam's apple. Yeah. We don't. And you want your neck to be big because when they do the equation, basically, the neck has to be big, the butt has to be small, and the waist has to be small. Also, on our tests, they want us to deadlift. They want us to do glute dominant things, but yet they want your butt small on the tape test. So I'm like, okay. And then your waist, has to be small. That kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But the tape test, the 3-site tape test never made sense to me. Even the math sergeant that we used to tape me, he was just like, this doesn't make any sense for a woman. Like, it's literally unfair. So they changed the tape tests. And
I feel like isn't it getting a lot of guys now? Because guys are like bulking up and they're not passing.
Well, they changed it to just one site though. It's just your waist. So they really shouldn't have a problem because
stop taping people.
Just stop taping people. But yeah. So the 1-site tape test now they do, but if you score above an 80 on like all the ACT events, then you don't even get taped at all. So I'm usually fine, but I could pass the 1 tape test. 3-site tape test, I've only passed it once, and that was because I did a little maneuvering. It was a little maneuvering with the buttocks, but
there's some outdated rules in the military.
Yeah,
but maybe as people start to, that's a very very long awaited change was the tape test.
Oh yes.
So and the fact that they very quickly flashed that gender neutral branch specific PT test maybe it'll come back.
Yeah, and
then it'll kind of even the playing field back out and give people what they deserve on a flat scale. Yeah.
I think coming back to something that you said, I loved when you were talking about how there wasn't a lot of women in the military until more recently. So it's you don't have a ton of role models and the mentors to look up to, and it's so true. And thinking about the different schools, Jack, what were you saying? What there hasn't been a woman to do what yet?
Pass the Q course.
Pass the Q course. That's discouraging. Imagine you're going to pass the Q course and it's no woman ever has done it. And you're first woman just passed combat dive school. Yeah. Go her.
Yeah. I got to meet the first woman to go through Ranger School. She's super cool. Well, 2 women went through together and they both passed. Cool. And of course,
are they just total muscle mommies? They're just total muscle.
They're badasses.
That's awesome.
Something that the gender specific standards can be compared to is also the age specific standards. So the test is also broken up by age. So someone who is older has, generally speaking, easier standards.
Kind of how I was saying, me being 21 years old, this is mine.
Yeah. I'm 24.
Max deadlift.
I think I'm about to move into the next.
Yeah. I think you got to deadlift 230. So.
Yeah. So.
24-year-olds.
It's a little bit different. But, and so I get that loosely speaking, that would translate to a job, but someone who comes into the military later in life who's still going to do, be on the ground, be a lieutenant, and still needs to be able to keep up with everyone. Even if they join the military at 36, the oldest age you can join, they have to, they need to be able to do the job. And so having it broken down by age means that you have someone in a position that can't perform the job at the same level. Now, to act as a slight devil's advocate here, or I guess just seeing it from another side, the issue is with how the military does the standards. The issue is not with the people doing it. If someone's giving 100% of their effort and they're getting rewarded for it more than they should, that's not that person's fault. So, you shouldn't hold it against people for the fact that they're getting graded on an easier scale. I think that's, something that I've struggled with is people being oh, yeah, you passed your PT test. You PR'd your PT test, whoop-de-doo, but, you didn't really do that great compared to everyone else. Okay. like applaud people for effort. You want to have soldiers who are giving 100%. And it's not just for officers, it's for enlisted too. Like you want to have people who are giving 100%, like encourage people to give 100%. The numbers will shake out. And yeah, so there's an issue with how the test is structured. You have the gender discrepancy and the age discrepancy. It should be by what job you have to do. But that's kind of like the two sides of it, the span of comparison.
I love that. That's so good. Yeah. So it's like, it's not just, I mean, no, a lot of people will come at the gender specific, part of it, but it's age too.
Yeah.
It's not just gender.
Yeah. And it should be what job you have to do.
Yeah.
So.
How do you balance the pageant life? You're running for Miss New York. You're going to run for Miss America. Like, how do you balance that with the guard, what you do, your other hobbies, and just like everyday life?
So I think the biggest thing is I try to line them all up. So like my platform, my social initiative within my pageant competitions it's called Salute, which is all about service members. So I get a pull from a lot of my experiences in the military and like interactions I've had with other people and share those stories and experiences as part of that. So doing one job is now fueling another job, fueling a hobby. And then my day job, I'm a restaurant manager. And so that's
she was a hotelier at Cornell.
Yes.
So
awesome.
Awesome.
My day job is a restaurant manager. And so that's also about like the basics of serving people and obviously to a different extent than what the military is, but running
the similarities,
running a busy restaurant and like during a busy dinner rush, there's a lot of similarities to running a mission. Again, different stakes, but the
different working components, the leadership responsibilities, the delegating, that's so true.
A ton of overlap. And so like they all fuel each other. When I'm practicing one, I'm getting to work on other ones. But then like the other side of that is I'm a really busy person and I'm overwhelmed a lot and I have to step back more than I do and like focus on what I like and focus on hobbies and stuff. But I don't know, they're all passions of mine. So I try to fit as much as I can into life.
Last thing we're going to finish up with is just women that want to join the military. Any advice for women that want to join the military?
Do it. Don't let whatever else is stopping you stop you. Obviously make sure like you know what you're getting into, talk to people, but then like if you want to do it and nothing technical is stopping you, don't let the idea of it stop you. I mean, you will find more people. We're having a big recruiting problem right now. One of my mentors, who's also a recruiter, is she has a couple of women who want to join combat arms, but she wants to put them in pairs. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't have any that want to go into the same segment. And I'm sure there are others that aren't stepping forward because they're hesitant to, that if they step forward, she'd have someone she could send them together.
And what do you mean by putting them in pairs into a segment?
She doesn't want to send a female private into a unit with all guys.
That's like Casey's problem right now. So she just commissioned not too long ago, and she is put into a unit with all men. Yeah. All men. They're like, we've not had a female here in a long time. And that's crazy. Also, I have to do a podcast with her too. Yeah. So you'll definitely see her on this as well. Yeah. But it's tough. Yeah.
It's also different for like I'm 24. I've been through college. I have a full-time job. I have a life. Like I can handle myself. But I've had a 17-year-old, 18-year-old just out of high school. Maybe I don't know what their family life's like. You don't know what their background is. Like, you don't necessarily want to throw them into somewhere that could be a bad situation. And again, my units have all been great. Lots of units are great, but you don't want to trial by fire that. Yeah. So I get that recruiter
like the
dilemma.
Fear and and I think I agree. I think it's just more of like a just try it out. Like when I was joining ROTC, it was just I literally thought to myself, oh, you know what? Let me just see if I like it. If I don't, I get out. And I did, and I liked it, and then here I am, and I could have never imagined myself in this position, even though I'm still not in the commissioned in the Army yet. But like it's crazy, and I think that so many women can get discouraged thinking like, oh, that's really tough. That's really hard. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. I was not any good at PT when I first started. I was panting on those mile runs. I was like, 3-mile run? Like, are you kidding me?
And now she has a fitness brand.
And now I got a fitness brand. Now I'm like running a little muscle mommy. I want to make a military muscle mommy theme line, but I have to like, maybe I'll make it and send you some ideas.
Yeah.
And then we'll release
style
it.
Vibes.
Yeah, right?
I love that.
But yeah, I think I totally agree with you. Just do it.
The other piece of advice I'd have is, if you join the military, you don't have to give up your feminine qualities. Obviously, when you're in the uniform, you're a soldier. That's first and foremost. But like, I also do pageants. I have side hobbies. I'm not always super quick to share that with my soldiers, but I don't hide it when they find out about it. And it's not something I'm ashamed of. I do try to keep my life separate, but again, not something I'm ashamed of. And being a soldier doesn't mean you can't have other hobbies. And then that goes for anyone. That's not just for women, but especially like pageants in the military, two very opposite things. But like you can have other hobbies while being in the uniform.
Totally. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for coming. I just want to quickly plug in your stuff and my stuff. So, give it to us. Instagram, whatever you want them to follow.
Yeah. Personal Instagram is at astaff15. That's 2 F's and then the number 15. But probably more importantly, if you want to follow my pageant stuff, it's Miss Hudson Valley NY. And then my service work is called Salute Initiative. That's the Instagram handle at Salute Initiative. And where I focus on like sharing service member stories and highlighting them. So any of those accounts, if you want to give them a follow,
Awesome.
that's where I do all my work.
You guys usually know all my information, but Muscle Mommy merch is on swolleshady.com. Promo code is BCDSwole. And my personal kind of fitness account is miss_swole_shady. But yeah, that's all for today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming, ma'am.
Happy to be here.
All right. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening.